Growth Pod is brought to you by Genero, a leading growth agency in the Nordics. We interview marketing experts, business leaders, and entrepreneurs to uncover the stories and strategies behind profitable growth.
Today's guest is none other than Swedish serial entrepreneur Konrad Bergström. Conrad was the co-founder and president of Sound Industries, which became Sweden's fastest growing company of all time, selling hundreds of millions of dollars worth of headphone speakers and other consumer electronics. Conrad is also the founder of Xshore, a company that designs and manufactures fully electric boats. Xshore has raised over $100 million to transform the boating industry and make it more sustainable. Welcome so much to the show, Conrad.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you have a really, really interesting background, and I read that in your mid-teens, for a brief period, you were actually a professional windsurfer.
Well, I got paid, but I didn't become the world champion. But I became better at selling stuff. So it was a good trip to go to New Zealand and become a professional windsurfer, but even if it was quite short.
So how did you transition from that into your entrepreneurial kind of journey?
Well, when I was there, I saw that roof racks was really expensive, and they didn't have as good boards and sales that we had here in Europe. So I started to import that to New Zealand, and then became the Australian distributor for Thule roof racks as well. And the rest is history, I guess.
You set up your own company to start bringing in like the Quicksilver and Burton and all these like activewear brands into Sweden. That was really, really successful, I guess.
Yeah. So when I came back when I was 18, I started to import a lot of lifestyle fashion, I would say. So it was everything from like Airwalk to Quicksilver to also hardware like Burton, Sector 9, Liquid Force. Yeah, it was like 30 different brands that I was given to make a success in many times in the Nordics, but especially Sweden.
How were you able to because you were like 18, 19, something like that. How were you able to convince all these brands to give you to represent them in the Nordics in Sweden?
Well, I started with Quicksilver, and that was quite a big brand. And then you went to all these yearly meetings, and you met other distributors, and they might have another brand. And you started to see, it's all about network and being able to do a good job. And so the rumor spread, and brands are always looking for their best distributors in every country. And I guess I had very big success and a good reputation, and they wanted to work with me.
Was there anything, because you were working with, like you said, 30 different brands and all these really strong, innovative brands from the US, among other things. Was there anything that you learned then very early about branding that you kind of took with you?
I mean, that was the best school, because being with 30 different plus brands gave me the opportunity to see what really worked and what didn't work. Some brands were really good at hyping and getting the demand, but then they didn't have the supply chain. So it didn't matter how much I sold and how successful I was on the Excel sheet, because I didn't get any products, and that didn't do the cash in the till. And then other brands were maybe not so good in marketing, but they were really good at logistics, and that's where I made money. So I could early adapt into how to create brands and build demand, but of course also looking after the supply chain when I started my own businesses.
So yes, I'm guessing you kind of learned that you were really ahead of the curve compared to many Swedes and Nordic people, because you got that exposure so early before like the internet even existed.
Yeah, and then I had my downs. I went bankrupt when I was like 28. I had to sleep in my car, and it was tough times, but it was also a learning curve. And then I came out on the other side and started the company to supply the rest of the world, because Sweden was very small and quite what do you call it? Like it was two little people, but a very big country. So it was high expense to go around and sell things, as well as our currency was sometimes very weak. So it could differ 20-30%. So it was really hard to take that risk.
You mentioned the bankruptcy. I remember reading in an article that you said at the time you felt like the worst human being on earth. It was kind of people were in a time when you needed kind of support the most, people were kind of pulling away. How were you able to find that kind of like confidence in yourself to try again after something like so traumatic as going bankrupt at an early age?
You know, this talking about it, you see, I get goosebumps now, but it's still a lot of feelings in that. But basically, you know, everything you do will not be a success, but if you keep on fighting, I usually tell my team that, you know, if we're playing soccer and we have a goal and the goalkeeper, it doesn't matter who is in the goal if you get many chances. So it's all about like keep on kicking the ball against a goal and you will score. And that is a very, very strong philosophy of mine, that you will not have success easily. It's all about your forehead bone, how much beat up it can take before you get through.
Do you think there is something in your upbringing or just in like your personality that allowed you to be so resilient and get up time and time again?
For sure, you know, I guess I'm a little stupid and always wakes up like a dog in the morning. That very positive. And then I had a mom and dad that always trusted me that I was going to be successful. You know, they always said like, get up, do it again. You know, it didn't. I've seen some friends that have parents that scream at them, how could you be so stupid and do this and that, and what is it that you didn't understand? Well, sometimes, you know, it's the mistakes that builds the success. And, you know, I say like Ingmar Stenmark, the more I train, the more luck I have. It's all about keep pushing and taking risks and quickly adapt to what's working.
Speaking of quick, I remember I read that after that your friend gave some really good advice, that you have your knowledge still, and that's something that no one can take away from you. And so you went home and you created the business plan for what would become Sound in 72 hours. What was in that business plan?
It was basically an electronic fashion house. So, you know, I helped Nokia build a trend in reaching youth with the snowboard and wakeboard and skateboard events. And they told me that the phone was going to go from quite dumb, you know, where you could send SMS and so on, to very smart, that you were going to be connected and have everything in your phone. You were going to consume media and music and stuff like that in like never before. You had everything in your pocket. And with my experience of building like everything from clothes, you know, the boards and then the shoes and then the sunglasses and then the clothing and different backpacks directly to that consumer, I quickly understood that headphones was going to be the next big thing. And if you're going to sell underwear, you need to put a lot of money into marketing. But headphones, if I could design them so they look really good and make it functional, people would buy them, and it would be like a snowball effect. And it worked. You know, we did our best on sound, But in the beginning, you can't compete with companies that is 50, 100 years old. So we took another strategy that we were selling to the people that listened with their eyes. And I remember when I was at this Orleans, which is like a big department store, and we had built POS with mirrors. No electronic company did that. And I'm walking past two guys, and they're saying, like, I think the red one sounds the best. And the headphones were not even plugged in. That's when I called the factory and like, okay, this is working. Just do as many as you can.
Well, that was like the moment where you knew that you had something that was actually going to take off.
You never know until you go to the market, right? You can have all these plans and so on, but at that moment was when I knew that this is working. This is going to be a global thing.
So that was that in the kind of business plan from the start, this idea of creating a global brand and really challenging these big companies, or was it just like, let's try this?
Because I think, there is something called the internet, and internet doesn't have borders. It's a global thing, and we travel today and we meet friends and everything. So you can, if you're building brands through being like cool and designed and stuff, that things that people want, it will go virtual and be everywhere. So I never believed in like, in 2 years we're going to do Germany. I always believed like, okay, plant the seed and be global directly, because that is like a hedge fund that if it's bad times in Sweden, America is still maybe moving. So you should really be global, because that's less risk. And some people say it's bigger risk, but not for me.
Speaking of the bad times, you launched Sound in 2008, just after or as the great financial crisis was happening. Can you talk about the timing, and didn't that scare you off from trying something new?
Well, this is where I'm like very, very blind and looking just at my thing. I knew that we had something, and I didn't look at the financial crisis at all, and it didn't become me more than that the bank raised my loans on my house, which I didn't have at the time. But I didn't see that. I didn't react to that. For me, it was just an opportunity that the phone is becoming smart, and also that we were so positive and had all that energy when we came into the meetings. All the others, salespeople, were kind of lame and crying, and I didn't reach my budget and all that. We came in with the energy and we just sell the shit out of the stuff.
Do you think that was kind of the key, in addition to the design and the product? Was it the energy and kind of optimism that you guys, the team, brought? Was that key to success?
Definitely. And that is what I see now as well. If you go into the meeting with a hanging head, how can you win? You need to get into the meeting with a smile and like, fuck, I'm here to do business. Do you want to come on my ride or you don't? It's that easy, I think. It's a lot about the attitude in these days.
And the growth was really phenomenal. I think 20 million products in 10 years, 130 countries all over the world. I also remember reading that you traveled something like up to 300 days a year during those times.
Yeah. I mean, that was probably one of the sad parts of the success, that I started to live on a plane. In the beginning, I could go to a place and that I had to travel so much, and it was not in a sustainable way, because I could be one day in Japan and then back to the US for a launch, and then back to Europe, and then back to Asia again in 1 week. And I remember, waking up that I didn't really know where I was. And it was not a fun way, because in the beginning I could go to a city and be there for 4 or 5 days and really inhale the culture and get new ideas and get inspired to for our next steps. But these years when we became very big, it was not that fun, I must say.
So is that looking back now with the benefit of hindsight, is that something you would do differently? You would approach it differently if you were?
I was almost doing the same with X-Shore, but then all of a sudden the pandemic came, and that made me realize, when I canceled like 34 trips, I realized, like, fuck, what am I doing? Like, and then this Zoom and all meetings over the internet came, and a lot of things can be done with that, even if I'm a believer that, it's much stronger if you meet in person. I'm happy because I don't travel the same way, even if my last 3 months has been quite hard, because it is, you need to go and see people. But I'm definitely working on it, and I changed a lot from my past on that side.
I just wanted to ask about that, because it's an ongoing debate, like in Silicon Valley and other places, about work from home versus in person. Do you think, especially for startups that are working on like a new product, something like an X-Shore, where you have to develop completely new products, brands, and technologies, do you think it's crucial that they are actually in person, or can it be done from?
For sure. I mean, building a company is a lot of different aspects and a lot of different departments. So some departments doesn't have to be in the room, but if you want to make the world's best product, I believe that you need to be in the same room. The construction engineer, the electric engineer, the designer, the some of the marketing team and so on, to get the full understanding of the product. Not all the time, but it's crucial, when you're doing that workshop and setting things, and then everybody can go home to make the work and nail it, and then you meet again, and then you change, and then you have to do that. But physical meetings during these workshops is crucial, I would say.
Got it. Switching gears a bit to talk about the most recent project, X-Shore.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool. I read that you registered the trademark back in '96. So
Yeah.
What was the idea then? Did you already know that you were going to do something in boating?
Yes. So X-Shore has always been a boat brand. I always been close to the sea with not only my windsurfing, but my grandma is from a fishing family, and my grandpa is from a seaman's family. So I always had the water in my blood, so to say, and I love the oceans. And the boats that I did see were not that good engineered. They were very expensive. Some of them were not very safe. So it was quite a lot of things that I saw opportunity in. So I registered X-Shore '96 to make a boat more like a car. So I looked at the car industry. So X-Shore, the name is actually taken from Volvo X Country, that is now Cross Country. But then, I was so successful first with my lifestyle company, and then with the sounds, I didn't have time to really nail it down, and also the technology wasn't there. But in 2012, when Tesla S came, I saw that, wow, okay, now this great idea that I have in the box needs to get explored. So I started to use my designers and draw some ideas. And in 2017, We had our first prototype. And I can remember when I went out on the sea, like, wow, this is amazing. Like people standing on the dock and they're looking like they didn't hear anything. And we're like, this is like Tesla. It's, all electric. And the feeling coming out on the ocean, which is one of the most beautiful places for me, without noise and fumes, was just like, wow, we got to do this. This is going to be big.
That must have been incredible. Like I guess because you were also building this product for yourself as someone who loves the sea, and
Yeah,
you kind of knew then that if you can make this work at scale, there's going to be a huge demand for a product like that.
exactly.
But before, when you were getting started, kind of, and I guess raising funds and all that, it wasn't. It was still very early in the industry. So didn't you face a lot of pushback from people saying like, "This is crazy, this is never going to work," or what was kind of the reception when you first started?
Not very long ago, we showed our first boat at the boat show in Stockholm in 2018, and I had one lady slapping me for making electric in water. That what is it that you don't understand? And at least 5 people yelling at me like, "How can you be so stupid that you're making electric boats?" And I just told them, today there is different certifications called IP. So, there is ways how you can have electric in the water, safety. But it's the year after they started to come like, oh, we want to have a look at your electric boat. And the year after they came like, okay, we are going to buy an electric boat. What do you guys offer? So it was very quick that we changed the market. And I think today, there is very few who don't understand that electric boats are going to be the future due to that the energy efficiency is so much higher. But then it's also the sustainability aspect, that there is no oil and fumes and stuff coming out in the sea.
When it comes to like essentially creating a new category or market, how do you think about just like building a really good product so that people can experience versus the communication, the branding, the design? Like, how do you think about investing in those different areas as you're kind of getting started?
Yeah, when I was, in the beginning of my career, I think that you could be niche and maybe a really good marketer or really good at design or something. Today, you just have to have all the different aspects, like, and this is also due to internet. To get educated 20, 30 years ago, you had to go to the library or read books. Today, you Google it. So everybody is getting more and more educated. So, my mom, when I was a kid, she couldn't change channel on the remote control. But, she's dead now. But in the end, she was writing emails on her phone. And my father, he's never been really good at fashion. But now he's dressing quite nice. So it's in all different aspects that the learning curve has gone up. And this is why we also have so many more individuals instead of just one big following group.
Just think about Xshore and all the products you work with. Design has been a really like key element.
I love design.
Where did that kind of come from? And do you have you developed any kind of design principles that you apply to these different products? How do you approach it?
Well, I don't know if it's a principle, but I always look at from 3 different aspects. It's the aesthetics. How does it look? It's the functionality, and then what kind of CMF, color, material, and finishes we use. So if that's a principle, but that's how I think it should be a good design, because it can't just look good. It also has to have the functionality, and it also has to feel good and be the right colors. And the materials has to the feel and so on. So yeah, and then of course it's very easy today to understand that sustainability has to be in there, because no company that is not going sustainable is going to survive.
Yeah. And when it comes to design, do you kind of design for yourself, or do you believe a lot in showing it and getting feedback from users, or it's like you're the artist, you know what you want? How do you approach it?
I I have, I'm really bad at sketching and so on, but I have the ideas in my head. So I work with really good designers that I kind of do the eye and they do the dot over the eye. But I have some people that I always work with that, during this past 15 years, they can understand me, and together we make some really amazing designs. So it's not me who's sitting and doing everything. It's definitely a team, but say that I'm the creative leader in the team, and then of course they also come up with a lot of great ideas. But
Totally. And I think the cool thing about Xshore, it's not only designed in Sweden, it's also made in Sweden, right? So,
yes.
so was that a conscious decision that you wanted it to be made in Sweden, or was it just a economic decision? Do you think manufacturing could be, with some of these new like EVs and stuff, do you think manufacturing could be coming back to Europe, maybe even the Nordics?
For sure, with first on the design on Xshore, I wanted to make that silhouette of a iconic original boat, so you could see it from a kilometer that's an Xshore, and that's not easy when you're going into a segment that has been there for hundreds of years. But we managed to do that in a really good way by putting like a fishing boat in the front and a modern sailing boat in the back. Sounds easy now, but it took 4 years to crack the nut. On the factory side of Sweden, with sound, we set up everything in China, and the whole production team were flying back and forward, and that is not so sustainable. So we wanted to make the blueprint in Sweden, and we know that we're going to sell quite a lot of boats in Sweden in the beginning, and then when we have that, we can take that knowledge and implement it in the US, that is going very well now, or Asia, or the Emirates or something, where the demand is. So it's produced locally.
Yeah, I think that's really cool, and I hope to see other startups and like companies bring back manufacturing of these really innovative new products.
And basically, we making a product that is very, very new and high tech. So we need to be close to it to actually make it work.
Let's talk about something that's difficult for a lot of people, which is delegation. I think it was 2 years ago you found a CEO for Xshore, and bit more recently you also found a chairperson for the board.
Yeah.
What was that kind of like? Because this was your baby. You registered a trademark in '96. You've been working on this, putting a lot of effort into it. So how were you kind of able to find people to hand it over to?
I think it's all about everything has its time, and I'm a quite quick mover. I'm really good at starting up and taking things to a new level, and then you can find better people than yourself at the next stage. So I'm still in the board for Xshore, and giving a lot of feedback and helping out. But I think that they are better at the stage. I never built a boat factory before. I haven't done boating all over the world. So it's better people out there that can do my job now. And the last year, really took a lot of effort to get this Marshall and Sound deal together. I worked for the past year with that.
Got it. How are you able to first identify these people who are really great at these things or better than you in these various things, and then convince them to come work for you?
Well, The X-Shore is quite easy because the whole company is built on a higher purpose, to change the market to the better. And we also have big ambitions, so we could get people that were both skilled but wanted to work more with the passion thing. And boating is such thing, but maybe they were not attracted to any boat company because a lot of boat companies doesn't have that. We're going to be global, we're going to change this, and that hallelujah around it. The other part is, of course, you need to sit down and discuss like what needs to be done and how could it be done, and find solutions. But finding good people, I would say, is the hardest thing.
Yeah, I think you said so. Someone else said that when it comes to startups, it actually might be easier to do hard things because smart, hardworking people want to work on hard things.
Yeah.
So having ambitious goals is probably attractive.
I think that sometimes it can be easier with doing easier things as well, because with hard things it's also it usually takes much longer time than you're expecting. So when you build something new, it's always hard to calculate how long time things will take.
How do you have that kind of patience? Because you seem like a person who loves to work, loves to start new things and get things going. But like you said, with X-Shore, it's a long project, and you have to go invest a lot of time. How do you kind of find that patience and get your also team to be very patient while still working really hard every day to push things forward?
I think that was also a big part why I took in Genero, because I was really tired. I worked with the sound for like 10 years, and then I jumped on X-Shore directly. So after like 4 years running quick again, because starting a company is like a marathon. It's like so many different aspects, and nothing basically works out the way you think. You need to be agile and find new solutions every day. And I think a lot of the value of the company is how you can tackle this. Like, how can we find quick solutions? And that is also long term for building this global company. But for me, I love to work. I love to do new stuff, I've been jumping from speakers or lifestyle products that was more fashion into speakers and headphones, and even making a smartphone into electric boats, and now I'm actually working a lot with Natural Care, which is Söder. It's a company in Switzerland, in Zurich, where we make the world's best soap and face cream and all kind of these products.
How did you get involved with that company?
Well, like many times, this guy, Johan, used to work for me packing snowboards when I was like 15, 16. And we kept in contact. And one day he needed some cash because he made this amazing soap. That is, it's well recognized all over the world, like Bergdorf Goodman and Swiss Air is having it everywhere, and other like 5-6 star hotels are loving the product. So he's a really good chemical guy, and made a mix based on what he called, or what we call, true soap. That is how you made soap like 2,000 years ago, with organic oils, and we have a wheat protein to not to heal your fingers and not get dry, and we have honey in it. So it's a very functional organic product. And from my side, another issue is all the different products out there that you put on your skin. This is your biggest organ, and they have like everything from microplastics to really bad cancer gene things in it, and people haven't realized. And I saw a big opportunity that if we can make this good, it's another project that you can build a big business, and at the same time change the world to the better.
So you have quite a lot of different. I mean, yeah, there's the common factors of like ambition, changing the world for the better. But in terms of products, very different projects that you're working on at the same time, which I guess keeps things interesting, to say the least.
Absolutely, and I learned some stuff from that part and some other stuff from this, and you can cross shoot some stuff. And I mean, before I was the front man and running a lot in the front. Today I'm more the coach. So you know, I help these leaders that are running so quick to give them my best advice and from my experiences, and not always having the solutions, but sometimes, you know, they are like in war, and they need someone to lay back on sometimes and just talk, I guess, to find solutions.
What advice would you give to, let's say, a younger person, or maybe not even that young, but someone who hears this and is really kind of excited about, you know, working with new technologies, building great brands, incorporating sustainability, or just business models that really have a positive impact on the world? If you were kind of in a more operational role, let's say, like in a let's say in your 20s, what kind of, where would you be looking? Any specific technologies, areas, markets?
Everybody's, you know, on the software route, but I do believe that the software doesn't get better than the hardware allows it to be. So I also like products that you can touch and feel, you know. So I'm a hardware guy, so I have to say that, and I think the hardware is going to be hot again.
Let's hope so, and let's hope that we start making a lot of hardware here in Sweden and in Finland as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Conrad, for coming on the show. It was a real pleasure. Is there any place where people, you know, if they want to kind of keep up with what you're doing, is there any place online where people can follow you?
Sure. You know, I am usually really active at LinkedIn, but I had a new baby, and family has been getting a lot of my time because you know, they're gonna grow up and then they might not want to see you. But now he's mine, so I am on LinkedIn or Instagram, so you can reach me there.
Thank you so much, and congratulations on the new baby. Good luck with that and all the projects you're involved in. I really look forward to following you. I think it's great. It's just incredible what you've done, and I think probably the best is yet to come.
Absolutely.
Thank
Always.
you. Thanks.
Thank you for listening. You can find all episodes of The Growth Pod on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts.